So we're going to get started. My name is Sarah Terrazas. I am the admissions coordinator at Chapman University, and Katrina oversees film at Long Beach. So you're going to get a good idea of kind of a private school, public school film option for you. How many of you are seniors, just so I know? None? Perfect. Okay, so this will actually be practical information, because if you're a senior, the application is due in 3 weeks. So you're a little behind the ball if you're just working on it now. So just some things that I want to cover is kind of the difference between a BA and a BFA. We get that question a lot, especially as you're researching schools and what schools you want to go to. If you went to any of the sessions on the difference between Cal Arts and USC as opposed to a state school, the degrees are going to be different. The programs specifically that we have at Dodge, we're broken up into two divisions, our film division and our media arts division. So I'll talk about the majors in both. Differences in film programs, so across the board, kind of the differences in what you're looking for schools if you're interested in AFI, Long Beach, San Diego State, Chapman, USC, supplemental requirements, and which is going to be big in any four-year program that you're applying into. Visiting Dodge, so we'll talk a little bit more about Chapman, questions to ask when you're on your tour. I will give you a handout for that so you don't have to write them all down, and that's really important probably here in this next summer as you guys are looking what schools to go to, some tips for applying, and then whatever questions you guys have then I am more than happy to answer. So the biggest question that I get a lot is the difference between a BA and a BFA. So a BA is going to be less major credits. It's going to be a more liberal degree. And for us, we have one in screenwriting, film studies, and PR. And film studies and screenwriting both have the option to go into a master's program when it comes to film. So you get your master's in screenwriting or your master's in film. We have a 4+1 program for film, so you can do your undergrad and grad in 5 years. And then a BFA is going to be 5 of the 8 of the programs that we have are BFA. So they're very major specific. You're going to come out of this in film production knowing that you want to be an editor, a director, sound design, whatever it is. You're going to take a lot of practical classes. So if you're in film production, your last 2 years, you're going to be doing a lot of shooting, a lot of on-location scouting for your thesis film. If you're in television, broadcast, and journalism, you're going to be on the news team, probably running some portion of the Chapman News. And those are going to be your practical classes that you're going to be taking as far as your BFA grows. Okay, so like I said, Dodge has film and we have media arts. So we have a BFA in creative producing, BFA in film production, where you can emphasize in cinematography, directing, editing, production design, and sound design, and those come after you apply to film production. A BA in film studies, a BA in screenwriting, and a BFA in screen acting. And the screen acting is new this year where you can apply straight into Dodge. It used to be that you had to apply first into theater, and then it's a cohort program. You'll still take a lot of classes in theater, but you can audition into our screen acting program from the get-go. Then our media arts program is split up into digital arts, public relation, advertising, and then television, broadcast, and journalism. PR is kind of unique to our film school at Dodge. So you want to, when you're applying, if you're applying to PR, make sure you fill out the requirements, because a lot of schools it's in the communications department. And digital arts has animation, visual effects, and art direction. And then our television broadcast has documentary, broadcast journalism, and narrative television. So differences in film programs. There are a lot of film programs out there. Film's growing. Your day and age is technology. At 4 years old, I think, is when I see kids on iPads now. And it is only becoming more and more expensive. So your guys' generation is probably at the hype of these technical programs. So when you are looking at film programs, you want to make sure that you're either in a collaborative or a competitive environment. You can probably get that on tours when you're asking students who go to the school. Dodge College happens to be a very collaborative program. We give funding for every person that's on your film. So for your screenwriter, your PR person that's going to write your press kit, your creative producer, sound design, director, editor, cinematographer, all those people are going to financially help fund your thesis film, which is your goal at the end of your 4 years if you are in film production, and or if you're a screenwriter, you might write 2 or 3 thesis films. It just kind of depends. If you're an editor, you might edit on 2 or 3. You just never really know. If you're a director, you're only going to direct 1 film. So just something to keep in mind. Size of the program, Chapman University as a whole, we have about 1,200 undergraduates and 300 graduates. We have a large piece of the pie at Chapman, but as a whole, we are a very small school. If you were to go to NYU or Northwestern or USC, the program's huge, the school's huge. I don't know if you guys have been to Orange, but we have pretty much bought up every single block of the entire downtown Orange that you possibly can, and it still seems like it's not enough, but your classes are going to be small, you're going to know your faculty, and that's just something that Chapman prides itself on in general. So whether you're in our film classes or you're taking calculus, your classes are going to be small at Chapman. Location. Seems like if you're not in Los Angeles, people think that you don't have opportunities, which is not true. We're in Orange County, and we have a lot of access into internships and things that you can do, not only in Orange County, but San Diego and LA. And we have tons of international opportunities and interterm projects. So it's location. You want to make sure that you are in the right spot for you as far as film program goes. When students start film classes. So this is probably going to be the biggest, differentiation between public schools' 4-year programs. Katrina has an awesome program at Cal State Long Beach that is amazingly transfer friendly for film students. Chapman, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time that we have a 98% retention rate for our freshmen, so it doesn't leave a whole lot of room to bring in a ton of transfers. So it is a very more competitive type of admissions process for freshmen, but the benefits of that is that you're starting your film classes day 1. Everybody's going to take visual storytelling, if you're a PR major, if you're screenwriting, if you're film studies, film production, so you're going to have cameras in your hand day 1, being creative and working with students of every single major across the board. And that's not always the case at all. A lot of programs, if you apply to UCLA, as you apply in as a film interest, and then your junior year you have to apply again into the program, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That gives you maybe a chance to realize if film's really what you want to do. But as far as Chapman goes, it's really kind of designed for the 4-year, because if you come in your freshman year, you're taking all those classes from the first day. And then lastly, your amount of production time. So some programs you don't get to use cameras right away, and that comes back to the size of the program. We like to have the right amount of students so that there's cameras available for everybody when it's their time to shoot, and things like that. So those are just kind of some of the differences as you're looking at different film programs, some things that you want to think about. Supplemental requirements. This is going to be for any 4-year program that you are entering in. They are more than likely going to require supplemental requirements. Did you guys go to the Common Application session earlier? So Chapman's on the Common App, so once you apply to Chapman, you're kind of submitting all that information to all the schools that are Common App. But there's also another program called Slide Room where you're going to submit all of your supplemental requirements. And for us specifically at Chapman, we require an essay, a written essay. Kind of gives us a really good idea of where you stand kind of on getting ready to come into a college level writing class. A major specific essay, so if you're film production, you're going to do a 2-minute self-introductory video about yourself and you can't be in it. If you're PR, you're going to write an ad campaign, whether you think it was positive or negative, whatever the message was. If you are creative producing, you're going to talk about a project that you worked on that you were in charge of and kind of how you delegated and all the things that you did because of it. And a creative resume, that's going to be the same for every major. You guys are really fortunate because you go into this school. I'm sure there's a lot of opportunities for you to creatively get involved, whether it's art classes or music classes or photography classes. It doesn't necessarily all have to be film. So it's really more of a creative resume, and it's not just a resume of things that you've done, it's things that you've creatively worked on. And then a non-academic letter of recommendation. Most film schools are going to require this. Again, you guys are really fortunate because you have a lot of amazing teachers that you probably see daily that are not math, science, and Spanish So you want them to kind of talk about your creative ability. And so sometimes that is, a big push on people that know you on the day in and day out. That's a big deal for us. We like to see that you're not just so focused on academics, because we are a talent and a film program. But academics are important. So let's see. So tips for applying to film school. I have a handout on this so you don't have to write all this down. But I just want to go over some of these because these are probably ultimately the most important things, whether you're applying to Chapman or any school. Follow all the directions carefully. So when you're applying to the Common App, they're going to ask for specific things for each school. So you don't want to skip anything. You want to fill everything out. You don't want to miss your chance to get into a school because you didn't fill something out properly. Look at all the deadlines closely. If you take anything away from this tonight, make sure you know the dates for every single school. They're going to be different for a state school. They're going to be different for a private school. They're going to be different for the Art Institute, for Cal Arts. Everything's different. Just at Chapman alone, we had change of major October 1st, spring transfers October 15th, film production and early actions November 1st. Our grad deadline is December 1st, regular actions January 15th. And at any point, if you get whatever you think you're applying for confused with any of those dates, you're going to miss your opportunity. So you really want to make sure. The number one thing, is there anyone here that's specifically film production? Okay, so the number one thing is that there is no early action or regular action decision for film. It's always going to be November 1st. Every other program that we have at Dodge, you can apply early action, or you can apply for regular decision in January. For film, if you do not apply by November 1st, you have missed the boat to get in with the freshman class. So it is really, really important that you look at deadlines. And luckily you guys are not seniors, so I can tell you that if you are working on your application 2 hours before the deadline is going to close, the blessing and curse of technology is anything can happen. And if you are sending us an email at 11:59 on October 31st, it's going to be really hard to have sympathy when you know, and I'm telling you guys a year out now, that it's going to be November 1st, 2014, whether that's a Sunday or a Monday, that the deadline is going to be for film production.
What's the open date? The first opportunity to apply?
So Common App usually launches their app around like August 1st. Not everything is really on there. We usually have everything kind of up and going about September. So, but for the most part, the requirements will be on our website. So even though you won't be able to submit them, you can still work on them. If that kind of makes any sense. Look at the academic requirements. That's probably the biggest thing between coming to a Chapman or an NYU as opposed to going to maybe a Cal Arts that's not so academic focused. If you're taking AP Statistics or AP Calculus in your senior year, you're gonna, fulfill that math requirement to get into Chapman. If you're not, and we're looking at your application and the talent's great, but you can't pass geometry, they're gonna have a really hard time, Chapman admissions as a whole, looking at your academics, knowing that you're gonna be able to pass college level calculus or college level statistics. So that's just the black and white part of the academics at Chapman. We want to make sure as a whole, and by no means is it saying that you have to take AP Statistics or you have to take AP Calculus, but you want to know where you're at and you want to know what your grades are. Now your grades, if they are progressively getting better since freshman year, we can hold your application until we get your grades from senior year, since you're going to be applying before and we get any grades from your senior year. But if you guys are sophomores and juniors right now, you really want to focus on your core classes. Those are really, really, really important. Don't just talk about your major of interest. Our written essay is tell me something that you're passionate about and how do you do your storytelling through it. And I can't tell you how many essays I've read that say, I love film, film's the greatest thing, I just want to make films, film's my passion, film is so awesome, I only do film. And although that's great, because I know you're about to spend 4 years getting a degree in film, we like to see that you have other interests. So whether it's photography or skateboarding or art or anything that you do that you can incorporate into your major of interest, really, really, really bodes well for you. Students should do the communication with the schools. I love parent involvement. Parent involvement is great, but I want to hear from you guys and what you're thinking, what your ideas are. it is really unfortunate when I get a call from a student that tells me my dad said that it was this and my mom said that it was this, and that's not necessarily a bad thing that your parents are involved, but you want to be the one communicating with the school. I know it's hard because you guys are the ones investing into your children's financial, emotional future here, but you really, really, really want your kids to kind of take the reins on this when they're communicating with us. So you want to find out what's unique about yourself, probably more than anything. Like I said, you guys are so creative and talented. This generation coming in, it just seems like the population is just growing larger and larger. But we're really looking for creative, unique storytellers, not just people that like to make iMovies on the weekend. And while that is all great, but we're looking for creative people that can kind of think outside the box. You know, Quentin Tarantino did not get to where he is today by not taking risks and thinking and expanding. So you definitely want to be thinking how you're different, how your application is going to make you different than the person right next to you in all of your classes, especially you guys, since you guys go to an art school. I'm sure there's a lot of you that have a lot of the same interests. So that's really, really important. We're looking for creative storytellers. And so specifically about Dodge, and then just in general, as you guys are looking to go to film schools, ask if there's a specific tour. We give one at Dodge daily, Monday through Friday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's in the morning, and Tuesday, Thursday, it's in the afternoon. You have to sign up. We can only take about 15 people through our building at a time. So space is limited, but like I said, they're daily and weekly except for the holidays. So, and I believe finals. But other than that, you know, you can sign up anytime from now until basically you apply. And then Chapman does one as well. So you can get the overall view of like the campus and residence life and everything that you'll get at the Chapman, and then at Chapman, and then so more importantly, when you're looking at other film schools, you want to ask if they have a separate tour for the film school so you can see the facilities, because sometimes that's, you know, the make or break for people when it comes to film school. And then I will give you this handout as well, so you don't have to write all these down. But these are just questions, whether you come to Dodge or whether you go to any school. If you are interested in NYU, but you're not going to New York, these are questions that you can probably call, because these are the questions we get asked the most of. So just a couple that I want to really hit on is, you know, how is the access for students to equipment? Again, at Chapman specifically, day one, you have access to check out a camera. There's certain cameras as you get higher up that are, you know, specific to cycle films. So, but there are a lot of cameras to access. Do students own the right to their films? That's really important to some people, maybe not so important to others, but Chapman, you have 100% rights to your film. And that's not the case for all schools, so it's just a question that you want to ask when you're going on tours or a visit. Again, the collaboration, it's really huge. So internships are important. Travel programs, our documentary program is amazing. They go to some of the coolest places like Cuba and India and Guam, and they make documentaries based on, you know, what they find there. So, you know, what are the budget for films? Are there extra fees? Can you double major? I actually probably get this question the most. If you are applying for a BFA degree and you get into the program and you can't really double major. If you're a screenwriting major, you might be able to double major in creative writing, or if you're a film studies, you might be able to do like a history. But within Dodge, there really is no double majors. But we do have some minors available. So if you are film production, but you know you want to minor in broadcast journalism or television, and you want to do both, there's opportunities for minors. And specifically, I want to address to you guys, since you guys are not seniors, we have a summer film program, and not to push our program on you, but it's awesome. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot out there, and since you guys still have time, I strongly suggest getting involved in whether it's we only do a 2-week one, and you stay in the dorms and live there. I believe USC does a day program. Some of them are 2 weeks, some are 4 weeks. Northwestern's is awesome if you want to go to Chicago, but there is so much that you can learn, and you can really decide if you want to be film. We had about 60 kids in our summer film program this last summer, and the kids are just awesome, and they want to get up at 5 in the morning and start shooting and be in the editing suites all the way until 7 o'clock the next morning, and all they want to do is film. And there's a couple kids that realize maybe I don't want to do film. Maybe this living and breathing film is not for me. So it's probably better that I did this program and learned a lot about it, and before I decided to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into a degree that I might not necessarily want to do. So that is the best advice that I can give you guys, since you're not seniors, to kind of explore your options, whether it's over Christmas break or the summer, and just try and find anything that you can be involved in, even internships. I know that it's really hard to take an internship where you don't get paid, but you can gain so much experience. I know a lot of people would rather, wait tables and make money, but it is a lot easier to take an unpaid internship at 16, 17, 18 years old and gain a lot of experience than to graduate with not a whole lot of experience at 22 and having to be taking unpaid internships. So if you guys can do that now, any experience you can get is really, really awesome, and it helps your creative resume. So, any questions?
How many people are accepted the contest? How many people apply?
The number changes every year. We have about a 32% admit rate last year, and that's the majors. Overall, film productions are most sought after, and that's about 19%. So we let in about 110 film production last year. So the numbers really, but that's usually like right where we're at. So as far as how many apply to how many we admit, it just kind of depends. The applications seem to be growing though. Until like every year, I just feel like so many kids. I wasn't in college that long ago. I know it was long ago, but film was not the way that you guys look at film today. So, and you want to go in what you're passionate about. So if you are interested in film production, definitely apply and spend some time on it. And like I said, if you're creative and you're giving your best storytelling, I mean, it just shows through. And so I know 110 doesn't sound like a lot, but it is quite a few. When the diamonds in the roughs, like you can tell the people that want to be in film. Questions? Okay, so I have the handouts of the questions you can get after, and then if you want to take a postcard for our Summer Film Academy, it has some information on there, and there's my card if you think of any questions after and you want to email me. I'll be happy to answer the questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Katrina Randolph. I am the undergraduate advisor at Cal State Long Beach in the Film and Electronic Arts Department. So Sarah does a really great job talking about admissions and things like that. I focus a little bit more, on actually the academics and what's going on in the program. So I don't deal with admissions. It's at the university level. Okay, so just about the department at Cal State Long Beach. My department chair would love to tell you that we offer an undergraduate program, and what he means by that is we do not have a graduate program. So all of our faculty are there to actually work with our undergraduate students. So you will not have graduate students teaching your classes. You actually have our faculty working with you and teaching your classes. Most of our students actually know our faculty on a first name basis. Like, we have a really open door policy because our program is really small. Freshman through senior, we have about 700 students. So our program is really small. They work really well together. Our students work well together with our faculty. There's a lot of collaboration, which Sarah was talking about earlier. Our program emphasizes theory and practice. So we don't just want students that can go in Final Cut Pro and edit. We actually want to teach them the theory behind what they're doing. Why do you edit? Why do you cut the scene a certain way? How is sound important? How do all these aesthetics come together? And then we also want you to come out with an area of practice. I know your parents are really concerned about, will you be able to get a job? So we do want students to also have some area of practice. So students will take 4 to 5 classes in a certain area and really kind of develop and deepen their skills in a certain area. So we do want to develop those technical skills, but we also want to remind you that this is a liberal arts education. So we are also going to provide you with a foundational education. It's not a trade school. I have so many students that say, Katrina, why do I need to take bio? Why do I need to take this class? I'm never going to use it. But you will. No one made a movie about making a movie. So what are you going to actually make your films about? My department chair loves to talk about Breaking Bad and how amazing that TV show is, and it's all about chemistry. So what if they had never taken chemistry? What would that show look like? So thinking about how we can relate all those things together and really give you that foundational education, not just in film, but also in general education. So our degree options, we only offer a Bachelor of Arts, and it's in Film and Electronic Arts. From there, we have 2 degree options, or 2 kind of paths to get that bachelor's degree. We have the option in Theory and Practice of Cinema, and an option in Narrative Production. So I'll talk about both of those. Theory and Practice, very foundational education in history and theory of film. Students learn contemporary film history, classic film theory. They also learn about international cinema. So we not only are going to teach you about film here, but also film abroad. And what kind of influences have we taken from them? And what kind of influences can you take away from that? We also teach our students about how culture and media kind of intersect and relate to each other. So what kind of ideas and symbols do we see in film that also reflect or don't reflect our actual society? And then the specialized training, which I talked about in that real area of practice. So within this option, there are 7 tracks that a student can choose from, and they include critical practice. So definitely for a student who really likes film theory, maybe wants to go to graduate school and continue studying film studies, maybe they want to get a PhD. Documentary production, screenwriting, editing, audio, broadcast production, and production management. Production management is like the producer's role and everything. I know you guys love to be on set and love to make films, but what really has to happen legally in order for that shoot to happen? So everything about getting permits and licensing, all like the business of show business. And then we have the option narrative production. Definitely very intense production education. Students will take everything from editing, audio, screenwriting, theory classes, and then their senior year, they're going to come together and they're going to decide between cinematography and directing. Our program is really collaborative, so a director is going to pick up a cinematographer from the cinematography track. They're also going to pick up a producer from the production management track, and the other option, maybe their audio or sound designers from the audio track. So really they're going to find their crew and their key personnel for their senior project in these other tracks, and that's how our program works really collaboratively together. This option, oh sorry, no, it's fine. The enrollment is limited, so I just want you guys to know that. Impacted, so hopefully you went to the CSU presentation, but this is a big CSU word, and so I just want to explain what that really means and how that applies in this program. So impacted basically means that we have more eligible applicants than we actually can accommodate. So at Cal State Long Beach, all of Cal State Long Beach is impacted. Every major is impacted. And what that means and how that really translates for you is that our eligibility index is higher than the CSU eligibility index. So when you're trying to do that calculation, you're going to want to find out what our actual eligibility index is. In addition to that, many departments like film will have supplemental admissions requirements or additional things or classes that you have to take to kind of prove that you can fit into that major. It's not to keep students out, it's really to make sure that it's a good fit. I think film is a really kind of poor example, but if you're pre-engineering and you can't pass calculus, like that would be a major specific admissions requirement to kind of prove that yes, you can take on this major, yes, you can succeed, yes, you can graduate. So here's our admissions process. Like other public schools like UCLA, it's going to be kind of a 2-step process. First, you are applying to the university. If a student is interested in film and indicates that on their application and they're accepted, they're going to be admitted as pre-film or pre-FEA, and they're preparing to actually apply to the major. There's no portfolio requirement for freshmen, and I think that this is probably going to be across the board at most CSUs. And then during their sophomore year, I think Sarah talked about this a little bit, you're actually going to be applying to actually start the major your junior year. At this point, you must satisfy the major specific or the supplemental admissions requirements, and at that point also the narrative production portfolio is due. We have set up our program this way in order to be really transfer friendly. So if a student is at Cal State Long Beach, essentially hopefully our students are doing the same thing that community college students are doing, and community college students are able to still do the same thing that our students are doing. So during those first year and a half, 2 years, students are taking their lower division general education classes and a few lower division film classes. And then they'll all like kind of apply that sophomore year or second year of community college, hopefully, and finish out their junior and senior years together in like a cohort model. So that's why our program is set up that way. That's why there's like a 2-part application. Here are our major specific admissions criteria currently. Like I said, it's not to keep a student out, it's really to make sure it's a good fit. Cumulative GPA of 2.5, and you guys know that that's not unreasonable. They have to complete these 3 like lower division major specific courses, Introduction to Visual Arts or Foundation Art History, Film History or History of Broadcasting, and Media Aesthetics with a C or better. My best example is if a student gets a D in film history, I don't know if they can then go on and do upper division film classes. So
These are the undergraduate requirements? Okay.
So this is what students would do once they're at Cal State Long Beach. If they're transferring, because we know that every community college does not have a film program, the only major course that's actually required is the Art 110 or Art History 2, because those are widely articulated or available at most community colleges. Not every community college has a film program, and we understand that, and we do not want to disadvantage any student that is coming from a community college that does not have a film program. In addition, they have to do their foundation courses, which we at Cal State Long Beach call the Golden 4, which include written communication, oral communication, critical thinking, and mathematics. So like I said, it's not to keep a student out, it's really to make sure it's a good fit. If you can't do well in a lower division history class, like I don't know if you'll be able to go on and take upper division classes. Are there any questions? Mine was really easy. I think you guys are interested in film production. There is a portfolio process with that. Right now, our faculty are really working very hard to make it as simple for them and as easy for the students as possible. So right now, we're currently looking at what other schools are doing and kind of taking bits and pieces from other schools' portfolios and kind of making that into ours. So there will be some creative work. There will be an essay for sure, a creative resume. They don't know if they want letters of recommendation.
So is that for the entering as a freshman or
no?
the
So
junior?
there's no
Junior.
exactly this junior year. We also do that because we want you to incorporate things that you learn while you're at Cal State Long Beach and while you're in these classes, which will definitely give you a different idea from where you are now on like why films are the way that they are. I also have brochures and pamphlets about the film department and about Cal State Long Beach. Sarah just pulling her stuff out. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.